What would you do if you found out your entire life's work could be deleted in exactly 14 days? I spent 20 years climbing a corporate ladder that I thought was anchored to something solid, only to realize I was just a line item on a spreadsheet that has already been balanced by someone else. I'm here at the Silver Pines Oncology Wing, Suite 902. It is a luxury clinic that costs $50,000 a week, and it has the best view of the city I helped build. The irony is that the only person who actually knows my middle name in this building is the nurse I'm paying to change my IV. I'm not here to ask for your pity or your prayers. I'm here because I have a terminal clarity that you can only get when you are staring at a morphine pump and a ticking clock. I want to save you from the mistake of trading your Tuesdays for a title that won't even be printed on your gravestone. 2 months ago, I was a senior VP of finance. I was the guy who stayed until 9 p.m. every night, the first one in the office and the last one to turn off the lights. 2 weeks ago, while my first chemo bag was still half full, I opened LinkedIn and saw the announcement. Our CEO, Robert Henderson, was introducing my successor, a 32-year-old rising star who was already sitting in my office chair. In the background of the photo, I could see the succulents my ex-wife bought for me years ago. They were already in the trash can. 20 years of loyalty and missed birthdays were erased in exactly 14 days because Q4 targets wait for no one. I was a unit of production to them, nothing more. When the machine stops working, the factory doesn't mourn. It just orders a newer model with a lower maintenance cost. You see, I spent my health to get wealth, and now I'm spending every cent of that wealth trying to buy back just 1 week of health. The math doesn't work. It's the worst investment I've ever made, and I've spent my entire career analyzing risk. I calculated everything except the value of the time I was throwing away like it was an infinite resource. I remember March 2021 when Sarah put a brochure for a safari on my desk. She had that look in her eyes, the one where she was still trying to find the man she married inside the suit I wore every day. I didn't even look at the pictures. I told her I had the merger of the decade coming up and we'd go someday. 3 months later, she filed for divorce, and now she is just a memory that smells like lavender. This morning, Nurse Elena had to hold my hand because I was shaking too much to hold a cup of water. She told me I'm the third executive this floor has seen this month, and none of our colleagues have visited. Not one. Robert hasn't called. The merger is finished, and I'm just a ghost in a silk shirt waiting for the sun to hit the IV pole. So I want to ask you something. When was the last time you actually looked at the person sitting across from you without thinking about your inbox? Are you already trading your life for a title that will be replaced before your obituary hits the paper? We are told that the hustle is a ladder to greatness, but it's a lie. I bought into it with everything I had. I thought being first in the office at 6 a.m. was a badge of honor, and that those fluorescent lights were my sun. For 20 years, I averaged 70 hours a week. I missed school plays, anniversary dinners, and quiet Sunday mornings because I was providing. I told myself that every late night was a brick in the fortress I was building for my family. I was the senior VP. I had the corner office and a watch that cost more than a car. I was winning. Or at least, that's what the balance sheet said. Then there was Marcus. We were roommates in college, both chasing the same dreams. Or so I thought. The Marcus quit Wall Street at 30 to open a small carpentry shop in Vermont. I used to laugh at him during the holidays. I'd show him my bonus structure, and he'd show me a picture of a table he just finished. I thought he had given up. I was the one who had given up. I just didn't know it yet. I was trading my pulse for digits on a screen. I remember a hiking trip he invited me on back in 2022. I canceled at the last minute because of a critical pipeline review that I could have easily delegated. Marcus called me from the top of the trail. I could hear the wind in the background and the pure, unfiltered joy in his voice. He told me, "The view is incredible, Dave. Too bad you're looking at a spreadsheet. You can always make more money, but you can't manufacture more Tuesdays." Those words didn't even register back then. I hung up on him because I was annoyed. I thought he was being lazy, but really, I was just jealous of his freedom. I went back to my data and my projected growth. I was so busy calculating the future that I ignored the present entirely. I thought providing meant writing big checks, but my son didn't need a check. He needed a father who wasn't staring at a phone during his soccer games or checking emails during dinner. I earned every bonus they offered, but I lost my wife in the process. I climbed that corporate ladder with everything I had, only to realize I was hitting a ceiling made of glass and regret. Now, Marcus is still in Vermont. His hands are calloused and his bank account is small, but his house is full of noise and life. When I wake up here, the only sound is the rhythmic puffing of this morphine pump. He built a life, while I just built a portfolio. Guess which one of those is actually helping me face the dark right now? Then there was Sarah. She always smelled like lavender, a scent that somehow cut through the stale office air I brought home every night. For 15 years, she was the anchor I ignored while I was busy chasing the wind. I thought that as long as I kept a bank account full, the house would stay warm. I was wrong. I remember one night in July 2019. It was 3 a.m. and the house was dead silent. She was in the kitchen, holding a cold plate of dinner she had made 6 hours earlier. I had just closed a $20 million deal, and I walked in expecting a celebration. Instead, the air felt heavy, like it was made of all the words we hadn't said for years. She looked at me, her eyes tired and red. She didn't scream or throw the plate. She just whispered, "David, I didn't marry a bank account. I married a man who isn't here." I didn't even know how to answer that. I just showed her the confirmation email for my new bonus structure. I thought numbers could fix a broken heart. In March 2021, she tried one last time. She put a brochure for a 2-week safari in Africa on my mahogany desk. There were pictures of lions and sunsets, things that didn't have a ticker symbol or a quarterly growth projection. She had that look in her eyes, the one where she was begging me to choose her over the spreadsheet. I didn't even pick it up. I just pushed it aside and told her that the merger of the decade was coming up in a month. I said we would go someday when things calmed down. But in the corporate world, someday is just a polite way of saying never. I chose the merger. I chose the title. I chose the applause of people who have already forgotten I exist. 3 months later, she filed for divorce. She took the lavender scent and the pearl earrings I bought her to apologize for missing our 5th anniversary. She didn't want the money I worked so hard to provide. She just wanted a Tuesday afternoon where I wasn't looking at my phone. Now she's a memory, and I'm a man with a heavy watch and an empty room. I earned the bonus. I lost the wife. I climbed the ladder. I hit the ceiling. I spent 2 decades building a fortress of wealth, only to realize I had built a prison of isolation. I thought providing meant writing checks, but a check can't hold your hand when the fever spikes at 2 a.m. A check doesn't care if you're breathing or not. Now, the silence here in Suite 902 is absolute. It's a different kind of silence than the one in my mansion. This one feels final. It's the sound of a balance sheet that finally reached zero. Tell me in the comments, are you ignoring someone who is begging for your time? Are you waiting for a someday that might be a deadline you can't push back? 2 weeks ago, the mask finally slipped. It wasn't the doctor's report that broke me. It was a notification on my phone. I was right here in Suite 902, waiting for my second round of chemo to drip into my arm. I thought I'd check in on my empire one last time. There it was, a high-resolution photo of Robert, our CEO, standing in my corner office. He had his arm around a guy named Tyler. Tyler is 32. He has a smile that looks like it was bought in a bundle with his MBA. The caption said, "Thrilled to welcome our new Senior VP of Finance, a fresh perspective for a new era." I zoomed in on the background of that photo. Behind Tyler's expensive suit, I saw the trash can near the mahogany desk. sticking out of the bin were the succulents Sarah bought me 3 years ago. She'd told me they were unkillable, just like our marriage was supposed to be. They were gone. My 20-year career was reduced to a fresh perspective in exactly 14 days. Nobody tells you the truth about the boardroom. You think you're a pillar holding up the roof. You think the ceiling collapses if you leave. But companies don't have pillars. They have replaceable parts. I was just a gear that stripped its teeth, and they threw me in the bin with the plants. It felt like a punch to the gut. I sacrificed my wife, my son's childhood, and my health for a seat that didn't stay empty for a fortnight. Robert didn't even call. He just posted a success story while I was fighting to keep my lunch down. The loyalty I thought I had built was just a line item they deleted. I spent decades believing the loyalty lie. I thought the late nights and the missed vacations were deposits into a bank of goodwill. I thought when the crisis hit, the company would stand by me. But Robert's eyes in that photo weren't full of regret. They were full of Q4 targets. To him, I wasn't David Miller, the guy who saved the 2018 merger. I was just an overhead cost that finally got liquidated. I look at Tyler now, or the idea of him. He's probably in that office right now, drinking the same coffee I liked, feeling like he's on top of the world. He doesn't know he's just the next tenant in a room that belongs to nobody. He's trading his Tuesdays for a nameplate that slides out of the door as easily as mine did. I'm using the rewards of my sacrifice to survive the damage the sacrifice caused. I'm paying for this clinic with the bonuses I earned by destroying my body. The math is a joke, and the punchline is that I'm the only one left in the room to hear it. It's a bankrupt way to live. I spent my life avoiding low performers. I wanted to be around sharks, winners, and disruptors. I thought that if you weren't optimizing your output, you were just taking up space. But here in the Silver Pines, the hierarchy is different. Your net worth doesn't determine how fast the cancer spreads. It just determines the thread count of your sheets and how much you pay to be lonely. There is a man 2 doors down in Suite 904. His name is Elias. He was a mail carrier for 30 years before his lungs started to fail him. He doesn't have a Patek on his wrist or a mahogany desk waiting for him in a corner office. His room is small and cramped. It smells like cheap peppermint and old books. He's been here as long as I have, but his doorway is never empty. Yesterday, I passed his room on the way to the imaging lab. The door was propped open with a plastic chair. Elias was surrounded by 4 people: his daughter, 2 grandkids, and a neighbor who brought him a container of homemade soup. They weren't talking about mergers or quarterly projections. They were laughing about a dog that used to chase his mail truck back in the 90s. The room felt crowded, messy, and alive. It was the loudest, most beautiful noise I've heard in months. I have a panoramic view of the skyline I helped build. Elias has a view of a brick wall and a dumpster. But I'm the one who feels like I'm staring into a void. Nurse Elena told me that Elias's former supervisor came by last week. He didn't come to talk about the mail route or the efficiency of the sorting facility. He came to bring Elias a collection of stamps the neighborhood kids had put together as a gift. He looked at Elias and said, "The route is fine, Elias, but the mornings are quieter without you. We just wanted you to know we miss the stories." Do you know how many people from my office have mentioned they miss my stories? 0. They miss my analytical oversight. They miss my strategic direction. But they don't miss David. Because I never gave them a David to miss. I gave them a machine that produced results. And machines don't get visitors. They get replaced with more efficient models. Elias gave them a human being. And now that human being is being held up by a net of love that my millions could never weave. That is the 3rd revelation. True wealth isn't what you take from the world or the titles you accumulate. It's the legacy you leave behind in the people who actually know your middle name. I have all the success the world told me to chase. and I would trade every single cent of it for one afternoon of being missed like a mail carrier. I built a fortress of gold, but I forgot to put a door in it. Now I'm trapped inside with nothing but the ticking of this expensive watch and the silence of a life well-funded but poorly lived. I'm starting to realize that if you die with a full bank account and an empty room, you didn't win. You just went bankrupt in the only currency that matters. I know what some of you are thinking right now. You can't just quit your job and move to Vermont to build furniture like Marcus did. We have real lives. We have mortgages to pay, children who need tuition, and futures that require a safety net. I'm not here to tell you that hard work is a sin or that ambition is a disease. Planning for the future is a responsibility, and for 20 years, I took pride in being the man who provided everything. But there is a very thin line where protection becomes a prison. I spent so much time building walls to keep my family safe that I ended up locking myself out of their lives. I thought I was being a hero, but I was really just an absentee landlord. If your providing costs you the very people you are providing for, the math is broken. You are trading the soul of the house for the quality of the siding. If I could walk out of this suite right now and go back to 2018, everything would be different. I wouldn't look at the merger deck on the plane ride home. I would look at the clouds and think about what Sarah wanted for dinner. I would have put my phone in a drawer the second I walked through the front door. I would have taken that safari and held her hand while the sun went down over the savannah. I would have gone to Leo's soccer games, even the ones in the rain. I wouldn't have sat in the back row with my laptop open, pretending to watch while I was actually checking the Asian markets. I would have been the loudest dad in the stands. I would have known the names of his friends instead of the names of our competitors. I would have been a father instead of a senior vice president who was always too busy. But I can't go back. The clock in this room doesn't have a rewind button. I spent my life in a race where the finish line was just a hospital bed and a view of a city that doesn't miss me. Every Tuesday I traded for a title as a day I'll never see again. I earned every bonus they offered, but I'm dying alone in a luxury suite. I built a fortress of gold, but I am dying outside the gates. Your company has already written the job description for your replacement. They are just waiting for the HR department to give them the green light. Don't give them another hour of your soul. Robert and Tyler won't be here when the monitor stops beeping. They are already focused on the next quarter. Go home to the people who will actually notice when you're gone. Don't wait until you're staring at an IV bag to realize you are always replaceable. Please send this to someone specific. A parent, a sibling, or a friend who hasn't taken a vacation in years. If you know someone who is currently drowning in their inbox, please send this to them. They need to hear what the finish line actually looks like before they cross it. Tell me in the comments, what is the one thing you've been putting off for someday? Don't let your someday turn into a room like this one. The sun is almost behind the buildings now. The shadows in this room are getting longer, and the morphine is starting to kick in again. I've said everything I needed to say. The rest is up to you. I am out of time and my account is finally empty. My watch is still ticking, but it doesn't matter anymore. You still have your Tuesdays. You still have your breath. I'm out of time. But you're not. Use it.